I have chosen to do the gossip from the book High Maintenance Relationships. And in the first chapter, the chapter starts out by saying that the snake that poisons everybody. It topples governments, wrecks marriages, ruins careers, busts reputations, causes heartache, nightmares, indigestion, spawns suspicion, generates grief, dispatches innocent people to cry in their pillow. Even its name hisses. It's called gossip. Shop gossip, party gossip. It makes headlines and headaches. Before you repeat a story, ask yourself, is it true? Is it fair? Is it necessary? If not, shut up. United Technologies, the conglomerate, placed this mini lecture in newspapers across the country for no other reason than to make people take a second look at gossip, and with good reason. In 1 Timothy 5:13, Paul says, "Besides that, they learn to be idlers, going about from house to house, and not only idlers, but also gossips and busybodies, saying what they should not." So, what Paul says here is that we should not be idle so that we become gossips and busybodies. That's just not what God has planned for our lives. Sean Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, says, "Isn't it kind of silly to think that tearing someone else down builds you up?" Shannon L. Adler says, "Often those that criticize others reveal what he himself lacks." Then Jane Austen says, "Every man is surrounded by a neighborhood of voluntary spies." And Rochelle E. Goodrich says, "Be warned, a person content to sit with you and criticize others will speak critically of you out of earshot." These are some of the things that people say about gossip and about people who gossip. Gossips are people who rob us of our good reputation. Our reputation is one of the most important things that we have, but if that is taken away from us, then what do we have? So I've titled this slide, "You've Been Robbed," because that's exactly what gossips do when they talk bad about us. And there's a family that I think of when we talk about people being robbed of their reputation, and I think of the Duggars. But the Duggars used to be thought of as obviously like a massive family, but also as a good Christian family. Now there are rumors about them everywhere because the older kids don't want to live the way they were raised, even though they're still living Christian lives, or because they've made mistakes. So like the oldest Duggar has been accused of a few things, and then also the girls in the family, they want to wear pants now, and so they get talked bad about because of that, and that's just not right. It'd be better if they just didn't talk about them at all, and then their reputation would probably still be very good. So we all talk about people and what's going on in life, but that isn't what we're talking about when we call someone a gossip. According to our book, High Maintenance Relationships, gossips are the people who love the latest local rumor, are seemingly incapable of keeping secrets, and are dead set on making our lives more complicated. So that would be what is described as a gossip. So now we're going to talk about the anatomy of a gossip. So some of the most common characteristics of someone who would be considered a gossip. But first, I want to clarify a stereotype that there is. And that stereotype is that women are more likely to gossip than men are. And this is not true at all. I work at Panera Bread, and there we have regulars that come in the morning, and they're almost all men. And there's like 3 groups of them, and these groups of men will come in and get coffee, and then they'll sit there for like a few hours, and they'll just talk and talk and talk about people, and I mean about life, I'm sure. And so that just right there refutes the whole stereotype that women talk and gossip more than men do. So some of the most common characteristics of someone who is a gossip is that they are talkative, pseudo-secretive, negative, intrusive, deceitful, vicious, superficial, and self-righteous. and we're going to expound on those a little bit in the next few slides. So, the first most common characteristic of someone who is considered a gossip is that they're really talkative. These are the people who are always talking, and it seems like they never stop. They always seem to have the scoop on the latest news and know everything about everyone. And they also talk about the same things over and over again. Another characteristic is that they are pseudo secretive. So these are people who are gossips, and they appear to be keeping a secret, but in telling you someone else's secret, they're actually giving away the secret that they weren't even supposed to tell in the first place. So, as you can see, these are just people that are not going to be someone that you can trust, and they're just very tricky people. Another characteristic of a gossip is that they are negative. Gossips love to talk about the bad things that are happening in someone else's life. So they look for someone's tragedy and then tell everybody about it. So they look for like the awful things that are happening in other people's lives and then just tell everyone they can about it. An example of this is there's a lady that I work with who I would consider to be a gossip. And she came and told me some news about one of our managers. And all she had to say was that he was going through a divorce and like going through a custody battle, and then said that he was having a relationship with one of the other employees at our work. And so it was just a lot of negative things about this person, and she didn't really have anything nice to say. Gossips are also intrusive. There's not really another way to say this, but people who are gossips are really nosy people. They just want to know everything about everyone, and they make it their job to figure out the latest scoop on everything that's going on. Another characteristic of someone who is a gossip is that they are deceitful. Um, they tell lies all of the time, but the thing is that they don't even know that they're telling the lie, because it's just second nature to them. So, like, they just go around and make up all these stories, but in their mind, like, they're not lying. Like, this is real to them. So, this is definitely someone that you want to steer clear of. Gossips are also vicious people. They are people who are dedicated, and they want to see someone's reputations crumble. They're mean people and will tell everyone else the horrors of someone else's life. Kind of like I said back when we were talking about how gossips are negative people. Like, they just have nothing nice to say, and they want everyone to know, like, what is the bad thing that people are going through. And then we see in Proverbs 16:28, it says that a dishonest man spreads strife and a whisperer separates close friends. So this is definitely talking about someone who's a gossip. They spread lies and make people's lives hard, and they also whisper and they talk about other people's secrets, and eventually it will definitely separate friends from one another. Gossips are also really superficial. Like, they really don't have any depth, and they don't really have anything to talk about other than talking about other people. They don't really have a real character of their own because they spend so much of their time talking about other people and talking about other people's lives and what's going on with them, rather than like making a life for themselves and um, creating a personality on their own. And then the last of the most common characteristics of someone who is a gossip is that they're self righteous. They do not like it when other people talk about them, even though they talk about other people all the time. So, a person who's a gossip is going to get really upset when they find out that someone else has been talking about them, even though they do the exact same thing to everyone else. So, this would be a really good indicator that someone's a gossip. So, now we're going to talk a little bit about how to understand someone who's a gossip. There are different types of gossip that can bring about good things, and then there are types of gossip who can bring about that can bring about bad things. But to someone who is a gossip, there's not going to be a difference. It's kind of just going to be all negative and all bad. There's not going to be like any positive gossip that comes out of them. And then most of the time, a gossip talks about someone because they get pleasure in seeing someone else being hurt. And then it's true that everyone likes to know about things that not everyone knows about. But the difference between someone like this and a gossip is that a gossip makes it their job to know the scoop on everyone, whereas just someone who's not considered a gossip is going to just be curious. Like if someone doesn't want them to know their business, they're just going to let it go. But a gossip is going to like pry and make it their job to know what's going on in someone else's life so then they can go ahead and spread the secrets to everybody else. And then someone who is a gossip thinks that talking about other people will bring them social acceptance and will create a bond of friendship with the people that they're talking about. So this causes them to not be able to keep the smallest of secrets. So in telling these secrets about other people, they want to find friendship, but I mean, obviously, that's not really what happens. And then gossips also like to be in the know because it gives them a sense of a normalized life. They find confidence in knowing that other people's lives are worse than their lives. So they want the assurance that someone else has problems in their lives too, even though everyone has problems. Like nobody's life is perfect. Other people who are gossips can't keep a secret because they don't understand why it's a secret. So, to a gossip, something that would be important for me to keep a secret, they're going to be like, well, I would tell someone about that. Like, that's not a big deal to me. So, they're not going to keep the secret because they don't understand why it's a secret in the first place. And then they also tell secrets so that they can gain power. For the rest of this video, we're going to talk about some different ways of how to deal with gossips. So we are going to learn how to recognize the gossip within. Don't just sit there, say something. Lay off the guilt trip. Have a parachute plan. Assess your corporate climate. Create your own climate. Cut off gossips at the pass. What do you gain from gossip? Find the good in gossip. Leave no dirt to dish. Know whom you tell your secrets. And if it's serious and personal, act quickly. And then the last one is find comfort in God. So, to deal with gossips, you have to recognize the gossip within. You need to admit that you're a gossip sometimes too, because we all are. And participating in gossip is very tempting. So, knowing this and understanding this helps you know that you can deal with gossips because you're also tempted by it. So, I mean, you're really not so different than they are. Another thing that helps dealing with gossip is to not just sit there, but to say something. So if you hear someone gossiping and you just sit there and don't say anything to change the way that the conversation's going, then you're just as guilty as the gossip is. So you need to, if you know that something is not right that the person who's gossiping is saying, you need to fix it so that there's not going to be miscommunication down the rest of the line. And then that will help the facts so that if like someone who the person who was listening to the gossiper, like they don't go and then spread the rumor that was being said in that moment. You're also going to want to lay off the guilt trip to try to kill the rumor without condemning the person who is gossiping. So you should stand up for the person who's being talked about, and this will help the gossip to stop talking about them as well. You're also going to want to have a parachute plan when dealing with people who are gossips because there's definitely going to come a day where you do not want to deal with messing with the drama and the gossip that these people bring. So what you should do is just say nothing and keep on walking. This might seem harsh, but it'll work in the long run. Then you also need to be able to assess your corporate climate. So, if you're dealing with gossips mostly at your workplace, then you should assess the atmosphere. This will show you a flaw in the department or even the corporation where you work. This is what I have to deal with when I'm at work. The atmosphere there is just everyone gossips all the time. So people are talking about everything and everyone all the time, and it's almost everyone. Like it's not even just one person. So if this is how your workplace is, then you should either figure out how to deal with the environment, if this is the career that you want to keep for the rest of your life, or look for a different job with a different environment in the workplace. There is a way that you can cope with the work environment if it's not a healthy one, and this would be to create your own climate. This is a way to make your own environment when you're at work or wherever you are, um, where people gossip all the time. So you have to decide that you aren't going to be a part of the gossip, and once you do this, you need to avoid these types of conversations. And then people are going to realize that you don't want to take part in it, and eventually they'll stop gossiping in front of you. When you are around, the conversation topic is most likely going to change. Something else that you can do is to cut off gossips at the past. If you will just not listen to gossips and their secrets, then you will cut them off and they'll quit. So you should have some comebacks to these people who gossip so the both of you can just move on and you don't have to deal with this throughout your day. Here are some questions for you to think about. Do you gain from gossip? Um, and do you enjoy the thought of people talking about you? And is there anything that you gain when people talk about you? Something else good that you can do is to find the good in gossip. And this was something that was really weird for me to read at first because it was like, um, there's nothing good about gossip. Like when you hear the word gossip, it just has a really negative connotation with it. But gossip can actually be good. Like it can be people talking about you in a good way so that other people will think better of you. John Sabini and Maury Silber say gossiping is our way of exploring how the abstract norms of morality apply to everyday incidents and situations. In saying this, they mean that some gossip has social benefits by keeping us informed with what is going on and up to date with things in the world. And then you also have Dr. Jack Levine, who did a research study on 194 situations where people were gossiping. This included 76 males and 120 females. So 20% of the situations had negative remarks made, like what you would normally think of gossip, but then there was an equal 27% of situations that had positive remarks made. So it was just interesting that there was an equal amount. And then you have the rest of the percentages was just like a mixture of people talking good and bad. Something else that we can do is to leave no dirt to dish. So essentially what this means is that if you open yourself up and let yourself have no secrets, then it's going to be really hard for someone to gossip about you, because someone who's really open and transparent can't be talked about because everyone knows everything about them anyways. So this is going to be another way that you can combat when people talk about you. Something else that I think that everyone should know is to know whom to tell your secrets. Make sure that if you're going to tell someone your secrets, that you can absolutely trust them without a doubt. And if you are going to tell someone your secrets, make sure that it's only like one person so that not everyone knows your secrets, because the point of secrets is that they are kept secret and that not everyone knows about them. And then a positive benefit of this is that sharing secrets with a close friend can help you create a closer bond and a closer friendship with that person. Something else to note is that if it's serious and personal, you should act quickly. So, if you have been accused of something that's very serious and personal, you need to act quickly on the allegation so that people don't start to believe what has been said about you. So, make sure that you correct whatever the other person has said so that other people still know exactly who you are and don't think that you're someone that you're not. And then we have the last and the most important thing to do for how to deal with gossips, and this is to find comfort in God. You can always find safety in God, and He will never let you down. You can always share your secrets with Him because He's faithful and trustworthy. God's never let us down, and He's not going to. So if you don't think that you can trust anyone else, you can always trust God.